So we're going to split down the center here, and then we're going to subdivide a slight diagonal forward section. Bring that down, comb that up and away. You could clip it if you want, or you can just comb it out of the way, whatever feels good. If you can control it without a clip, sweet. We'll clip it just to make it easy, because you can't really use the ears of a doll very well, so we'll just clip that out.
Ben says hi from the next room.
Ben? Who the hell is that? He was a slut. All right. So, here we go. My last client had to cancel today, so we're doing a free live. We have badges turned on to help pay for Dylan's doll that we're cutting without his permission. So if you would like to help pay for that doll, feel free to donate whatever you'd like. First section that we're going to do, we're going to put in our comb like this. I'm going to put my scissor behind the hair to bring this section together, to collapse all the hair together and organize it. And then I'm going to then lower the elevation one more time and then cut a line at very low elevation, like essentially zero elevation there. Boom. Now we're going to do the other side as well. Comb comes in. Scissors behind the comb, comes behind the comb like that. Bring the two together. Keep your comb a little higher than the line that you want to cut. Lower the elevation. You see how this is like lifted up right here? It's like not under control. I can't cut that right now because it's going to be not so accurate. So we're going to lower that down. And again, we're just going to come in and connect. And this is just setting the foundation. Starting off at zero. We don't want any elevation here, really. It's always harder to cut at zero on a doll because the skin of the doll doesn't want to move, It's not skin. It's plastic, which some of us are purchasing as skin and putting on. All right, so we've got our initial line put in. From here, we're going to take a section that mirrors this one. So matching that same line right above it.
Sana Brado says hello.
Who? No, I know. Sana. Don't judge me. Anyway, we're going to start to put in a little graduation. So come look from right here so you guys can see the elevation. This first bit of elevation, we're just using one finger's depth, just lifting a teeny bit. I'm going to match my comb to the subsection angle. I'm going to comb down. My fingers are going to come right up against the comb. I'm going to keep my fingers ultra straight. So now we can come back around. So I'm matching the line with a small amount of elevation. I'm going to cut on my fingers. Try not to cut past your second knuckle. Notice that when I cut it, I'm checking it on my finger. I can see the sharpness of the line on my finger, just like that. Comb down again. Same elevation here. You should be able to start to see graduation right away. And by that, I mean when you comb this, it's going to start to give you a little bit of like a bend or a bevel. Like how that curves a little bit, that means we created graduation. Now, we're going to do the same thing over here. Small sections. You can't rush a graduation. It needs to be gradual. So, comb right up against the part. Combing down. Fingers very straight, ultra straight. So that you can create a line. We'll come in. Scissor is right up against my fingers. So we can create that strength, that clean line. Again, we'll do the same thing in the corner here. Your first section, no elevation. Second section, 1 finger's depth elevation. What?
Theo is cracking me up. He's crazy.
Which Theo? Baby Theo?
Yeah.
Okay, you need small sections.
There was a real question.
Okay. Remember, if you guys have questions, ask them. Tawana will ask them of me.
The real question was, did you know that there's many Twix bars? And I'm just kidding. That's Ben. in the break room. But someone said, do you like to use the spine of the comb for elevation inside the comb?
The spine of the comb for elevation? I don't know what you mean. But if you mean like, do I go like this to lower the elevation with the spine? I don't really do that very much. You could clarify. If you can clarify, I'll try to answer better. So now we had 1 finger's elevation. Now we're gonna have 2. So see, I'm now placing another finger underneath there, just to give me a bit of reference. I've got more than 1 finger. There's the other one. There's slightly more
Check your
elevation.
finger privilege.
What? Then there's the line. Fingers are very, very straight. Like, that's a simple thing that, it seems like it should be like one of the first things you think about. But you have to be able to force your fingers to be very straight, because you can't go like this and be like, oh, let me cut this line curved. Coming down. I match the angle with the comb. Comb down. Connect my fingers to the comb. And I'm going to have a slightly lower elevation as I get to the corners, because I want this to be graduated down to 0 as we get down the side. And then I'm going to comb that out, and I'm looking for that kind of a bend in it. If it has that bend and bevel, then we know we're in good shape. So we'll continue on this side. Small section. Putting that up and away. It's very repetitive stuff. So we'll come to this side. I'm going to turn like this. It might be easier that way. We have to match the elevation from side to side. Now that's kind of the harder bit, is the balance. So that's why I'm doing one side, then doing the other side. So comb out. Fingers are behind the comb. At about 2 fingers elevation there. I'm looking for my guide underneath. I can bring my scissor to a flat position like that. Will you back up a teeny bit, just so we can show that? Mm-hmm. So instead of going like this, I'm going to just flatten my scissor out like that, so that I don't have to bend my wrist, which is really important. Comb that out. Straight fingers. Tension is even, but not crazy hard. Like, you don't want to really stretch the hair out too much, like at the scalp. Again, we want to check to see, is the line sharp on your finger? Easy way to check, just like that. Sharp line. Coming to the corner.
Badge.
Hey, thank you.
And you're using what kind of scissors?
I'm using a 5.5-inch fancy scissor. Available at fancyscissors.com for the affordable price of $3,199.99. I'm just kidding. There's $165, okay? It's really not a lot of money. All right, next section here. Still same angle. And remember, we're trying to do more of these free live streams for everybody. So the only cost that we really have doing them is the cost of the dolls. And I'm using one of our stylist dolls right now. He doesn't know I'm using it. And it's going to cost him. So now I'm lifting up a teeny bit higher here. You can see the elevation has changed, right? So it was here, 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 here. 45 degrees. Using my fingers as a kickstand for balance so that I'm not wavering, going higher and lower. Working my way around. And as I get to the side, I actually am lowering my elevation a little bit, because I want this to taper down to essentially 0 on the side. Straight fingers. I know I repeat myself a lot. I'm make your fingers straight. You're like, oh, we heard you. But yeah, you did. But I'm watching you. And you're not doing it. I see you guys. Some of you are. And I wasn't. I'm trying to instill in you things that took me a long time to learn and stick in my brain. So I'm just trying to drill it. Okay, so we want to match that same elevation on this side now, combing out from the part. You don't need to, comb so many times here. We have an issue?
How do I get this there? Thank you.
There we go. You just want it to be combed out, clean, even tension. Don't comb so many times. You see people at hair shows combing 50,000 times. It's pointless movement.
That should answer your question, Theo.
What did he say?
How many times should I brush before?
1,000. Straight lines. We want clean lines. We get to this corner here. We're lowering the elevation in the corner. But you have to be just aware of the elevation that you have in each place, because you're in control of that. You can make whatever shape you want. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as what I'm doing. And then I comb it back and forth to look for the shape, to look for the graduation. A lot of times people are checking it like that. And it doesn't work like that. So we comb it back and forth to loosen it up so it's a little closer to how it will be when our clients are styling it. They're not going to have it styled completely flattened out to their head. It's going to lift and move a little bit. So you can see we're getting that little bit of graduation at the bottom. Don't stress about this bottom line because after you cut it, you're going to come back and refine the perimeter when it's dry. So.
One more question.
Sure.
Can you have sushi for dinner tonight?
Who's that?
Shelby.
I would love sushi for dinner. Hook me up. You making some? No. We're ordering it. Are we going out? All right, so here we go. Now, essentially, we're going to start bringing everything to this point right here. You could continue to lift it up if you want to stack this to the heavens. But this is like a horizontal graduation. So it's like, if I wanted a higher stack, I'd probably take more of a diagonal section, less of a horizontal section here. So check the elevation from the side. You can really see what that's like. Creating a triangle. If you were to look, like from this side looking in, look, you have a triangle shape. This is a triangle. That's what you want. Comb this out. Look for your guides. I'm making a kickstand with my fingers, like I said. And then we're going to cut right there on our fingers.
Someone said,
check the line.
Do you cut corner first sometimes?
I don't like to work from low elevations to high elevations. So I'm going to work high down. That is generally what I would do. But you could do that, though. That's a challenge to do. I actually remember, who was it, like maybe DJ or somebody like that was saying that like cutting a graduated bob starting in the front was a challenge that they would do at Sassoon to, waste their lives. But it would be a cool thing to be able to do. I think it's a good practice for control and everything, Simple things like combing one way, combing the other way, combing down. Just to get that hair to bend, to move a little bit. So you start to get some graduation. You can see your shape.
Can I show your body position?
Yeah.
Section?
So, you want to stand essentially like square to your work. So as I take this section, when I'm in the center, I'm in the center. You don't need to be, so horse stance, but that's fine. Looking for my guides underneath. Notice that I'm not going like this with my head. I'm just standing right square to the work. When I work to the side, I'm going to lean a little bit to the side, but I'm not going to walk around to the side because if I do, it's going to start to get too short on the side. We're lowering the elevation a little bit as we go. And by the time I get to this corner, I'm back to that one finger. Low. Just like I did on the other side. And I comb it back and forth. Check to see if I'm getting the right graduation, the right shape. You could also decide to come and check your balance by pulling these corners out like that. See if you have a balanced shape. You can comb out like this. See, like, are we looking clean? What is that? Attached? Nope. Cool. So now we're going to get in front of the ear. Now here's what I like to do. As we get in front of the ear, I like to take a section all the way through from the back to the front, like that. But then I also like to take a diagonal back section right there. So I make a triangle shape like that, so that I have some of this front corner to, show me where this line is going to end. If you don't do that, you've got, a million sections until you know where this front section is going to sit. So it's just an easy way to, decide on the outline of the bob right away. So here we go. We're going to graduate this in the back. Same elevation as we were before.
Do you keep the head tilted down the entire time?
I'm just tilting the head down when I need room to work in the back. It makes it a little easier. But you have to think about how that will affect the side when you go to cut the side. So as I get to the side, I'm actually going to have them look up and then lean over like that to give me more room to work back there. Really, I could have kept it or looked down because I'm still working in the back technically right here. So looking for my guides there. Straight fingers. Come in and connect that line in. When we get to the side, we lower the elevation. And then from there, this is where we have to start worrying about a hole, right? When you get to this area with the ear. So you can see it's like we have graduation coming down. So it's lifted, coming down to 0 right there. Now we'll comb around the ear. We're going to release tension around the ear. You want to give it a little tap. And then we're just going to start to continue our line through to the front. Just like that. Now in the front, I am going to over-direct a teeny bit for a few reasons, right? I want to cut this similar to the place where the client is going to style it. And these dolls, like the hairline is very far forward, so it's like it sits very much in front of the face. So we're going to draw it back, not crazy far, but just this little bit in the front, so it's out of our client's eyes. So we have an idea of where that line will be when it's actually styled. Make sure you release that tension, and you have low elevation. So tap, release the tension, connect through to the front. Boom. And then right away, you're like, oh, there's my whole bob shape. It's like, that's the bob right there. You can see it all the way through. There's no guesswork about where this piece in the front is going to stop.
So then you shouldn't have trouble getting the other side even, right? By using this?
At least you have the reference for it, but you may run into trouble.
Well, it was one of the questions, how to, they
how
always
to keep
end up
balance
with
better?
each side uneven.
I would say working side to side is a big thing about balance. So if you have any issues with balance, then you'll want to work side to side. And now we can just work through and connect in the back. We don't have to worry about that front corner at all anymore. Now we're just connecting in the graduation. And you can do the same sectioning at a one length. You don't have to graduate it. It's really just about having that corner there. So again, we're going to bring this out now. 45 degrees, that's the idea. Looking for my lines underneath. We'll connect that in. Looking for that level of sharpness. If it starts to look too heavy, it means you've held it too low. Right? It needs to be very gradual. Comb that out. There's the line. Flat scissor. Lower the elevation in the corner. And then down to 0 around the ear. Release tension. Make sure you don't cut that hole. Because if you cut the hole, then you have to go back and cut the whole thing again. So there's not a lot of weight left in this doll. So I'm just going to go ahead and comb the rest out. And you see, I'm not going side to side right now, really just for the ease of shooting this, so I don't have to keep jumping back and forth. But again, if you have issues with balance, you could totally go side to side. That's a personal decision for you to make. So, comb this out. Looking for our elevation. Looking for the line underneath. Flat position. You don't want to have to go like this. You don't want to have to go like this. We want to be able to keep our wrist straight. On the side. Lift up. Tilt over. We have maybe a little bit to connect in here in the back. Just looking for like where the hair is going to fall on its own at this point. You could say, I've separated out from the apex to the mastoid. And that's essentially where I'm thinking about this graduation.
Or you could speak English.
Yeah, or you could just say, the hair from the top of the head and behind the ear. All right, so we'll comb this out. Scissor comes behind the comb. I'm going to release tension, low elevation, and connect to the line underneath. Do we have any other questions on there? So, and that's our bob coming together right there. Let's re-straighten this lady out. You can see that line coming through. Oh, we have like one long one here. And now we'll do the other side. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
It says, I'm not sure what this means myself, but are you cutting triangle graduation or triangle line?
Well, the line, if you want to think about the shape, and you went to Paul Mitchell or something, it is slightly triangular because it's going to get longer in the front, a small amount. I would say that the graduation in the back is almost horizontal graduation. We're not really taking super diagonal forward sections there, but in a small way, a little bit, it is angled forward. So you can interpret that with whatever language you'd like, but triangular, if you're speaking in like some Sassoon speak or Paul Mitchell speak, it means it's longer in the front. So yes.
Okay. I think you might have answered this, but like they said, what if a client's ear sticks out?
Then you need to make sure you release even more tension in that spot. That's why we tap around the ear, because if their ear sticks out and you cut with a tight tension, then you're going to get a hole in that area. So you really need to release that tension so that you don't end up with a hole. And that's the whole idea about tapping your scissor on the ear. And sometimes, if your client is a little bigger ear than another client, you might have to do a little more severe tapping. So here we are. Like that's going to be our last bit. That will be elevated at all. Again, I'm combing it out. I'm looking. Is it doing what I want it to do? Like, is it lifted higher, getting to lower? That's the vibe. Coming back up, combing out. All right, let's say this is a client with a big, big old ear on him. What we're going to do now is the same thing we did on the other side, but you would just want to like really release that tension a little bit more, to compensate for their big old ear. Still low elevation, tap around the ear. We start to come and connect that in. And because we have our front corner out, we can cut this, check it against the opposite corner before we do a million more sections. Because sometimes you'll cut the whole side and you'll be like, oh shoot, it's uneven. And then you have to go back and do the whole thing again. So I think having the front corner in an earlier section is a great thing for balance, to save you the time. Let's see. We're going to be a little bit long. Let's bring this side again.
At least you get to check it right away.
Yeah, you check it right then. And that way you don't have to, do the entire haircut again. Because now I can just do this one section a little bit shorter. Because I know that this is where it started. Sometimes you'll check a bob and you're like, it's uneven, but I can't tell where the unevenness starts. Is it the front corner? Is it in the middle?
Where did I go wrong?
With these kids.
So why do you cut the side at 0 elevation?
Well, because I don't want the graduation to be on the side. You could elevate the side and graduate the side. You're going to make it look wider and you'll create a shape like that will build up on the side. The shape that I'm trying to make is built up in the back and gets lower and leaner on the side. So graduation is going to build weight. It makes things look wider and heavier and more full. So it's like if we want to build up weight, we can graduate. If we don't, then we'll cut down at a lower elevation. So.
Should we always move the client's head to the side? I was taught in school that the head should only be held down.
Only be held down? I would say that's probably like, I don't think nothing is wrong, right? But it's just about how it affects your angle and end result. If their head is down the entire time, like do they exist in life with their head down the whole time? Why cut the hair with their head in a position that it's not going to generally be in? I'm only having a client look down the back to make room at the shoulders for me to work, right? All right, so let's camera on me for a second. So you're cutting a line on a bob. They're looking down. You're like, I'm cutting a line that's longer in the front. They look up. All of a sudden, that line is square now, right? They're looking down, and you think that you're cutting a square line. They look up. That line is round now. It's shorter in the front. So their head position is going to literally dictate where that line is. So when I have them look down, I'm just making room to work, but I have to compensate for the line. When I have them look to the side or lean to the side, I'm just making room to work because there's a shoulder there. It's not changing the line, but you have to think about how that will affect the end result. Because if you're just cutting your regular line with them looking down and you're thinking this is going to be a great angle, when you go back, it's not going to be what you thought. It's going to be a different shape. So remember, to quote the great Ben White.
Who's that?
Great composer. There are no absolutes in cutting hair. Nothing is anything. But the idea really is that, there is like a physical thing to what we're doing. Like if you're cutting a line and they move, the line will look different. There's no way to make a haircut look exactly the same in every head position. So you just have to think about like what is the overall intended shape? Like what head position what shape do you want when they're in their normal, like walking around head position? Like if this is their normal thing, then cut like that. If it's like this, then cut thinking, oh my God, look over in the corner.
It scared me.
Have it happen again. Wait, where'd it go? It's gone. Ghost salon. There's a horrible, horrible monster in the corner right now. All right. So, simple bob lesson. From there, we will blow dry and come back and refine our lines a little bit. We got a couple random long ones there. But remember, that same sectioning, you could do it at one length. You don't have to do it graduated. You can do it at one length. Same sections, just all at 0. I wanted this to have a little lift in the back. So that's why I elevated in the back and graduated. So I got a little bit of lift down to 0 on the sides. Remember, it's all fundamentals, right? There is no, I always do this, I always do that. If you think like that, you've immediately boxed yourself in and you're going to be a worse hair cutter. You're not going to be as versatile of a stylist, right? There is no go-to toner. There is no go-to haircut for this face shape. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to make someone's face look wider, skinnier, more heart-shaped? You want an elongated jaw? Do you want to soften a bone structure? All these things are what you need to think about, and then you apply your technique. No cookie cutter haircutting or coloring. None of that will work. It might work a little bit, and you'll have like 5 clients or whatever that you do always to get the same thing, and you'll be so bored, and eventually you'll be like, I used to do hair and I don't do that anymore. Now I work at Kroger and I bag stuff. So don't work at Kroger and bag stuff. You can. Somebody,